Well, last night, Democrats won big in the New York City general election. Mayor Bill de Blasio comes away with 66% of the vote. Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. was reelected as the Borough President of Bronx with 86% of the vote. In Council District 11, Andrew Cohen won with 84% of the vote. Over in District 12, Andy King won with 94%. And Mark Jonai won with 48% in District 13, beating John Sereni with 35% of the vote. Now over in District 14, Fernando Cabrera won with 84%. Richie Torres won with District 15, and 94% of the people came out in support of Vanessa Gibson as she won again with District 16. Rafael Salamanca wins District 17 with 93%. And as we say, Ruben Diaz Sr. now won with 96%. 96%. 18% of the vote goes to Costa Constantine, who won District 22 with 93% of the vote. Now, in other citywide races, Letitia James won again for New York City Public Advocate, beating out Bronx political commentator J.C. Polanco. And Scott Stringer was reelected as New York City Comptroller with 76% of the vote. Now, what does all this mean? Where do we go from here? How do we break this down? Well, we've got now our political commentator and the owner of Retrovision Media, Lee Bines, here with us. And Lee, good to have you.
Good to be back.
I guess the big question is that we did not talk about, in spite of all of this, was the low voter turnout. When we look at numbers yesterday, roughly about 20% of New Yorkers came out and voted when it came to the mayoral election, the lowest of any mayoral election in recent history. What are we to make of this?
Well, pretty much par for the course. The voter turnout has been pretty much low and sinking for quite some time now. I think it's a bit of a dissatisfaction with the process overall. But with regards to the city and your announcement that pretty much everybody who was expected to win did win. It was an incumbency election. If you were already in office, you pretty much had the name recognition, you had the funding, and you were pretty much a shoo-in as far as the city politics is concerned. This is a Democratic town. Anybody trying to break that stronghold that the Democrats have on the city is going to have a really, really tough climb. And you mentioned that J.C. Polanco, our friend and colleague here on this set on a regular basis, came out as Republican, trying to unseat the current public advocate. It just wasn't going to happen. It was, pretty much in the card that the status quo was going to remain that way for the foreseeable future here in New York. Anyway, broadening this out to a national circumstance, when you go over to New Jersey and you find out what happened down in Virginia, I think it took on more of a significance because I think a lot of these votes were cast against Donald Trump, not necessarily for the actual candidates. Donald Trump, in his general Trump fashion from China, this guy is having dinner over there, and he has time to tweet out that if Gillespie, that's the Republican running down to Virginia, had he embraced the Trump way and embraced the Trump values, he would have had a better chance to win. Doubtful. Again, I think a lot of folks around the country, save for one small spot in Utah, it was a blowout. It was a landslide. It was a bloodbath.
And if we go down to North Carolina, the governor's race in North Carolina now going to a Democratic seat. North Carolina, a heavy Republican seat. Are we seeing now the quote-unquote anti-Trump movement taking a rising place?
I would have to agree with that 100%, but I would add the following. The Democrats had an encouraging night last night, no doubt about it, but they cannot feel satisfied. They still have a lot of work to do in terms of bringing the party together. There is a wide split, and it's growing. And I was wondering if there was going to be a Donna Brazile effect on this election, because she came out with her book indicating that there was a lot of shenanigans going on in the Democratic National Convention. She could have theoretically set a lot of people down. Put a lot of people to say, you know what, look, I understand that this process is rigged. Until I see a better a showing from the Democratic Party, I'm not going to vote. And that's why I say the Democrats have their work cut out for them, because right now the Trump is standing on The only thing that he's standing on right now that's holding him up is the fact that he's trying to get this tax cut pushed through. What the Democrats need to do, rather than just say, hey, it's a tax cut for the rich and the poor and the middle class are going to suffer, they need to come up with a tax plan themselves and present it to the progressives and Democrats and also those who voted for Donald Trump, just to say no to Hillary, and let them know, look, this is what our tax plan looks like. This is how it's going to be rolled out. This is who's going to receive cuts, and these are the ones who are going to pay more and why. The same thing with health care and a variety of other issues that are facing the country right now. The Democrats have to actually stand up, hold a press conference. If they called a press conference today and said that we have the plan for a tax cut, the media will be all over it. If they came up with their the fixes that are necessary to repair Obamacare and let the country see what that looks like based upon what they're getting right now, the media will be all over it. So for them to sit back on their laurels and say that, yeah, we had a big night and we could probably replicate this event later on, I think they may be
But here in New York City, let's
Certainly.
be honest, I mean, a highly democratic city, and yet and still you got 20% of the people coming out. There's a huge apathy amongst Democratic voters that are out there going to the polls. What is it here in New York that's really keeping people from really going? Because this, as I said, is the worst for a mayoral election in the last 5 or 6, I mean, recent history.
No question about it, but I think that apathy is due to something that your previous guest alluded to, and that's the fact that income inequality is so widespread, and the fact that that gap is actually growing as well. A lot of people don't feel like the voting process or the American political landscape is really going to make a difference in their lives. So a lot of times the only people that you find showing up at the polls is the extremes. Those who are paying close attention, those who feel that they do have a little skin in the game, those who feel that the voting process is going to increase their standard of living. And I think as time goes on, and there's so much money involved in these elections and the election process, a lot of folks feel like, look, I can't even afford to make a donation. So where do I fit in this? And that is probably one of the biggest challenges amongst Democrats, is be able to show them, once again, this is how we're going to run our program in the future. This is what we're doing right now is going to be extremely helpful to you, and give them a reason to come out to vote, as opposed to just Donald Trump sucks. I mean, let's be frank, that is not enough over the long haul.
And what we're seeing right now is Mark Jonah, and as he had his race and he emerged victorious, he spent record numbers with regards to his campaign and really financing his campaign to get reelected. The money. Let's talk about the money that's out there right now. Not as much flowing as it used to be.
Well, specifically, definitely with the Democrats, there's not a lot of people out there that, especially low income to moderately income folks, they don't have enough money necessarily to kick in to be a part of the process. Therefore, the Democratic Party has to do what they have to do. Go to the big donors, the corporate donors, those who are going to foot the bill, but there's always strings attached to that money. And so people have actually come to realize that a $5, $10, $15 donation isn't going to really buy them any attention. In order to get attention from a politician today, you got to be able to cut a $25,000 check just to have lunch for them, or have access with them to get your point across and for you to be listened to. So if that's the way the process is playing itself out, I can understand why voters have decided to say, look, I can't even afford to be a part of this process.
What's our final take home from all this?
Well, I would say at the end of the day, the Democrats definitely have their work cut out for them. I would say that Donald Trump moving forward definitely has a hole to dig himself out of, and with all of the legal troubles that he has right now, it's still up in the air what's going to happen in 2018. So I wouldn't make any bets right now on the outcome.
All right, Lee Bines, that's what we bring in. Thanks.
Good to be here.
All right, taking a quick break. Listen, stay tuned. We got more show coming up right after this. We'll be right back in a few.